Hello, everyone, and welcome to our little Four Curmudgeons podcast where we're going to be talking about Resident Evil today. I have with me some special guests. We got Any Name back, who was on the Metroid Prime 4 podcast.
Hello, everyone. Glad to be back.
We got a new guest, Derp, which I guess we'll just be calling you Derp throughout.
Yeah, hail. Derp is what everybody knows me as.
And big time YouTube celebrity, Ratatosker here.
Yep, thank you for having me.
So, as I said, to begin with, we're going to be talking about Resident Evil today, and starting with how everyone got into the franchise, because I think the most interesting thing about Resident Evil, or at least one of the more interesting things, is how schizophrenic it is, and how varied it is, and how everybody that comes in, even if you, whether you're a big fan or you're a small fan, has their different preferences, and you'll have general agreements regarding what's good, what's bad, what's not. And then you'll have deviations even within that. So, as an example, I started out with the Resident Evil remake on GameCube. So I technically began with the original series, but I only played the Leon campaign of Resident Evil 2, and then it was just Resident Evil 4 was the next one I really played. And after that, it was pretty much every major release and even some of the smaller releases too, until today. So I'm technically more of a Resident Evil fan from 4 onward than the originals, but I like that original gameplay too. So I guess we'll start with Rada. You're more recent into Resident Evil, or?
Yeah, I started with Resident Evil 2 Remake, and that was the only one I played for a long time until I recently just started playing through a bunch of the ones in the series. And I still haven't gotten through all of them, but I played 4 and 4 Remake and 7 and 8 and now 9.
So you're about as recent as it gets for the most part.
Yeah, unless you just started with 9, which I'm sure a lot of people have.
That's true too. Any Name, I think you're as long or possibly longer of a fan than I've been.
Yes. Well, I'm not so sure. I remember I had friends that really talked about Resident Evil, in particular Resident Evil 4, that they really liked it. But I was like a little bitch, and it sounded scary, so I didn't want to play it. And I remember I emulated Resident Evil 2, and I got really scared. I couldn't get into it. But sometime later, I got myself a Resident Evil 4 copy, and I was like, okay, I'm ready for the horror and the zombies and everything. And I played through it, and I absolutely adored it. But it wasn't very scary. It was just a campy action movie with one-liners and everything, which I really liked. Then I played Resident Evil 5. I skipped 6 because it looked awful. And then I got back into the original trilogy. I had the goal to play the original trilogy, but I never finished it. I played through almost the entirety of 1 and most of 2, but I think I was playing it on my PS3. I believe they had a remakes on the PS3 or something like that. I never finished it. My PS3 broke down. And then I played the new trilogy, and I finished 2 through the remake of 2. I didn't finish the remake of 3 because I didn't like it.
Okay, an understandable so. But a lot of people did not. Derp, what is your general, how did you get in?
Well, I started probably with 2. However, I only played it for a little bit as a kid because a friend of my brother got me into it. But I didn't enjoy it at the time because, I was, 9 years old or something. So I didn't really get the hang of it. And it wasn't until I got into 4 and then 5, played a bunch of 5 co-op with my friends. Then I went back and played the original trilogy, and that was great when I was a bit older. And then I basically played every number title since, plus the remakes. And I actually enjoyed pretty much all of the remakes, even 3, I think. Yes. Yeah. I remember when I heard everybody's backlash, I was like, yeah, but it was more or less what I expected from the game. So I just had a fun time, popcorny fun time. The ending of 3 remake was pretty bad, but still, I had a decent experience with it. I much less prefer 6, 7, and 8. I think those were like, okay, I might end up dropping the series at this moment.
That's actually kind of interesting because so with Resident Evil 3, you had played the original at that point by the time 3 Remake
Yes.
came out. And yet you still, like, you were just not expecting it to even have branching paths, let alone a dynamic nemesis.
Yeah.
Well, you didn't expect a lot from that at all.
No. Well, I don't know. OG3 was, it was fine, but it didn't grip me like OG1 and 2 did. So maybe I didn't expect as much from the remake.
All right, and it sounds like nobody's played any of the spin-offs, like the old Gun Survivor games, and there was also the Outbreak, Umbrella Chronicles for Wii, rail shooter games, and then also Outbreak was the multiplayer PS2, and the god-awful Umbrella Corps co-op shooter game.
No, didn't touch it.
No.
So I'm the only one that suffered through that. Okay.
Yeah, I generally look up the game, and if people say it's shit, I don't get it.
But that's part of what makes Resident Evil so schizophrenic, because ever since 4, you've had a large chunk of people saying the latest one is crap. It's either great or it's crap, but nobody can ever have a full consensus, I feel like. Majority consensus, sure. Like Resident Evil 4 is a majority consensus. The game is great. There's a smaller portion of the fan base. It's like it's all been ruined ever since Resident Evil 4.
Yeah, but are those people still in the fan base, really? Because the series has been that forever. Like, are they even in the fan base, or do they come by and chime in every once in a while? It's like, I object to this, and then leave again into the shadows.
I think they are.
It's like those Star Wars fans that they say everything after Empire Strikes Back is absolute dog shit, nothing's good, and I'm like, well, are you even a Star Wars fan if you hate like 90% of content at that point? Like, it's kind of weird.
That's also just kind of a weird discussion on just fandom and properties in general.
Star Wars is granular, though. Like, that would turn into a whole discussion as to
Yeah.
where exactly
the line is drawn. Whereas
Yeah.
here it's like back and forth.
Yeah, forget I mentioned that.
We'll have two fandoms warring in the comments. So to that extent, since we have all these different varied backgrounds, Resident Evil Requiem, all right, what's the general overall of what people thought of it? Because I don't think any of us believe it's like the greatest thing, like, because so many people have come out, like, or at least when the game was originally released, within the first week, people saying like, oh my gosh, this might be the best Resident Evil ever, this one's great, it's phenomenal, nothing but praise. But over the past month, I think you've had more and more people being like, I mean, it's good, but it's got these problems as well.
Yeah, I definitely think it has problems, but I don't think I thought it had more problems with time. Like, it wasn't one of those situations where I was reflecting on it and like, now that I think about it, it's more like those were visible, but they're not as important to me as the things it did right.
Yeah, I kind of cooled a little bit on it, but it's still pretty up there in terms of at least modern RE games. Like, yeah, I think it's still up there and amongst my top 3 probably.
Really?
Yeah, I think so.
What's the other
I didn't
two?
expect that.
OG 4 and 2 remake.
Okay, those are respectable.
Yeah. I
Well,
imagine any name you and I might have the strongest opinions about Requiem overall.
Probably. I know I was very critical on my video, but I still think it's a great game. Like, if someone asked me what Resident Evil games would you recommend, that game would be near the top. I still think it's really good. What is my biggest issue with it is that I'm a bit scared that people are gonna really enjoy the more surface level gameplay that was offered on Leon's side, and they're just gonna move forward with that. I wouldn't like that. I vastly prefer the combat sandbox on the original Resident Evil 4 and its remake. Especially, I think it's more comparable to the remake, and I still think the remake is vastly superior to Leon's gameplay on Requiem. But again,
No, I was going to say, like, I agree, and I think that's going to be the consensus moving forward. That
I also agree.
Yeah, 4 Remake I think is going to overall be viewed as having superior Leon gameplay. Like if you want the action stuff, 4 Remake is what people will be going to.
I might be the odd one out here because, like, while I think 4 Remake is better because of the enemy variety and the scenarios you get into, I think it's better because it's built off of the skeleton of 4. But I don't like the 4 Remake combat more. I think they're about
The 9?
equal. Yeah, I think I like. See, I really don't like the knife parry in 4. I really don't like it, and I think even
Why is the axe parry okay if the knife parry
Especially
isn't
because it's
okay?
more overpowered, really.
It's
yeah, I
way
know
stronger.
It's way stronger.
Way
I
stronger.
think
And
it's,
Infinite.
it's just because it's built off of OG4, and I think I have so strong feelings for OG4 that my hatred of the remake is like overpowering. Like there was no knife parries in OG4. If you wanted to parry a barn tool, like some like axe or something thrown
You
at you,
shoot it.
you would have to time it and swing your knife. You couldn't hit the parry button, and Leon would pop into his parry position. That's more fine in 9 because it was built from the ground up with that in mind.
So in other words, what you're
I don't
basically
know.
saying is it feels more skillful or
No,
not.
no, it feels more in line with what 9 is trying to be rather than what 4 originally was, if that makes sense.
But 9
Because
is
they're
built off of the bones of 4 Remake. Like the Leon
yes,
gameplay in 9 is just 4 Remake, but worse.
But worse,
exactly,
Yeah.
but I don't have 4 original to compare to, you know?
I'm gonna have
Aha.
to disagree with you there because I actually think that the knife parries get me closer to the vision that I had on Leon on the original game. Because I convinced a friend that absolutely hates shooters. He's like the anti gunball gamer. Any game that has gun or ball, he just hates. He doesn't want to touch them.
Mhm.
And I convinced him to play Resident Evil 4 and Half Life through a lot of convincing. But the point is that one of his major complaints, which is one that I also had, is that the cutscenes and the feel of the game portray Leon as one thing, as this close combat martial arts, a special agent, what's the name, John Wick style guy. But when you're playing as him, he feels like a human forklift, super slow, super clunky, and all that. And it might be because of the tank controls, but I do agree that it feels very strange that Leon, in cutscenes, will parry enemies with his knife, like he schools Ada on close combat and all that shit. But when a random Spaniard with farming equipment gets too close, he's powerless to do anything about it. So I like the parry in 4 Remake because it feels like I'm playing a version of Leon that's closer to the essence of the character, while still and maintaining what makes Resident Evil 4 good about positioning and distance from enemies, because it's not a permanent resource and it's not always super reliable. You cannot parry everything, you can only parry a few things, and you don't want to parry everything because then you lose your knife, and that is also a valuable resource. So it maintains the essence of Resident Evil 4, in which you want to actually have distance with the enemies, but if one of them gets close enough, you still have an option. And since the enemies are way more aggressive, I felt like it was perfectly balanced out. I really liked it.
I played 4 way different. I just suplexed and kicked everything in 4 OG. You shoot them in the knee, they go down, you kick them, you suplex.
Which is a big thing,
But yeah.
actually. Yeah, I'm near finishing my video as we record this, and that's one of the big things I point out because I even played 4 Remake and 4 Original, and yeah, it's a lot easier to get guys to stumble and kick them in the face in the 4 games, both of them.
Yeah, you're not
Yeah.
helpless like when the guy's close to you. You only need to get one of them and then you can stun the whole group.
Yeah, kick them into each other.
It's funny too because one of the things I look back on Koshi Nakanishi's prior games, and what I always forget, I always forget that his big break, or at least the first time he was really a big name on the card, I guess you could say, is he was, I believe, the combat director or designer for Resident Evil 5. So before he directed Resident Evil Revelations, he directed the combat for 5. And in my video, I look back on Revelations as like, I should have known the story was going to be a whole bunch of convoluted gobbledygook, because that's exactly what Revelations is. But even then, Resident Evil 5, as fun as it is with the co-op and everything, overall, the combat is worse than Resident Evil 4. And Revelations didn't exactly have great combat either, but when you play Revelations, it's almost like the enemies there are a prototype of what the molded will be in 7. So I'm getting the feeling, looking back, that Koshi Nakanishi is just a better horror game director than he is an action game director. I guess that's also the other question is, I think I'm the only person that was as angered by the story being so stupid and making so many retcons as it did. In part because, like, again, Rada, like, you only just started
in 1.
In what?
In 9?
In 9, yeah, in Requiem. Because you only started with, like, Resident Evil 2 remakes, so you've only played some of them recently. So you don't have, like, the long-term attachment to the narrative or the constant... And I feel like this is the worst that it's done retcons, because they've always kind of made changes little by little from, like, 5 and 6 onward. Like, there's always been these little adjustments to what the lore and the history of the games has been. But now with this one, it's like a whole, like, they want you to be like, everything you thought you knew was wrong, and it drives me nuts. But
so I you're right, I don't have the same attachment to the story as somebody that's been playing it for a long time, but I get why someone would be upset, and that's legitimate. It's just that the way that I interpreted what 9 was trying to do was something like it was trying to move past all that. You know, there was something definitive about what is it, Elpis? Is that what it's called?
Yes.
It was trying to be like, okay, the viruses aren't important. We've got a solution for the viruses type problems. They killed Wesker and made him like irrelevant, his clone at least.
Well, yeah,
know.
maybe.
they introduce him and then they kill him off in the same damn game.
Yeah,
I have some theories about him, but yeah.
All in a cutscene.
Yeah, if you skip cutscenes, you wouldn't know that he's there type of a situation. And I think it was a way to like coagulate their lore into something manageable, because I think, kind of like what Ramble said, it probably is disparate at this point. You know, they've made so many changes and retcons and added so much lore to it that I think 9 was supposed to kind of be an opportunity for be like, okay, now we've congealed all the lore into one thing. This is the lore now. Now we can move forward with the series.
With the connections of the
what
big
seems
bad
like.
guy.
Yes.
And I think that's part of what pisses me off, because I find the connections so lame and uninteresting, because they're just bigger and badder and more underground.
They're just underground, their umbrella, basically.
Yeah. And that's...
They feel like a budget La La Lulalo or Patriots, you know.
So, and I guess that's... But that could go into, like, what are they going to be doing from now on, right? Because of the connections is your big bad. And we're probably going to get DLC that'll hint towards that, because I imagine there's enough hints in this game that whatever... Because people think, oh, so the zombie BSAA soldiers at the end of Resident Evil Village has been just dropped. They're not going with that anymore. And I think partially because Dusk Golem himself said that that's a dead end. But I don't think...
How reliable is that guy on Twitter?
It's mixed. There are some things that seem like he gets them correct, but then when you look back, there's a lot of stuff he's been wrong about. And a lot of people might argue because of this or that. Like, there's a lot of stuff from before Resident Evil 9 where it looks like he just piggybacked off of other guys' leaks. And he was wrong about a lot of stuff with Resident Evil Village. So it's one of those things where he seems somewhat accurate now, and perhaps at some point he did find like access to some Capcom insider. But also, for as much as he talks, you'd think Capcom would be trying to feed false information to figure out where to plug the leak, right? Like what was the what was his name, like Puro, like the Nintendo Direct leaker who would hint at things and he got them perfectly right every time. And it turned out it's because he was working on the website and he had access to the updates. So they found out who he was and rooted out like the leaks. Like they were able to figure it out. So I mean, and now like Nintendo is more secretive than Capcom, but you'd think Capcom would want to figure that out too, right? Like, so if he has this information, all right, who's leaking to him? Let's sort it out. But I guess that's another question where it's like, I don't know how reliable he is. So I always take everything with a grain of salt. He might be right, he might be wrong. But why did I go on this digression?
I was just asking how reliable he was.
Yeah, because I brought him up for a reason. Oh, because of what he was saying about Resident Evil Village, but
the DLC.
Yeah, well, even with be it the DLC or Resident Evil 10, this game has like the zombies with the memories, right? And we see BSAA soldiers go zombified and start shooting guns and stuff. So the end of Resident Evil Village, which was specifically BSAA Europe too, so it wasn't the North American branch of BSAA, it could be that they're building something with the zombie memory and what's going on with like BSAA zombie soldiers. So we could be building some connections crap there. We could be building some continual storyline. But I guess to me, well, partially because you're like they're condensing the lore and they're condensing the story, and it's like, you know what made it simple? Resident Evil 4 saying Raccoon City was blown off the map.
Yeah.
Umbrella Corporation was just collapsed. And the idea that some of the assets, like that alone is an interesting place to take things, because Umbrella assets will undoubtedly go into the black market and get spread around. And there's a lot of possibilities you can do with that. But then they kept bringing it back to Umbrella. Tricell was just another Umbrella, like they were an Umbrella subsidiary or something. And then Resident Evil 6, they have Neo Umbrella with the family and all this crap.
Oh my God.
So, and then 7's like, all right, we're going to have Blue Umbrella, who are supposed to exist to clean up Umbrella's messes, and yet they're nowhere to be seen in Requiem. So it's like, instead of cleaning it up, it does feel like they've just made it messier and dumber at the same time.
Well, yeah, but I think that's the point that I was trying to make, that this one is taking into account that they kept making it messier. They just kept making it messier. And so like the only way to do it is to try and do what Resident Evil 4 did, and just okay, that's all done now. It was their
just
mistake.
sweep it under the rug.
Yeah, it was their mistake to ever unsweep it under the rug. They should never have. They should have kept it swept or kept it separate. Maybe have two different through lines. And the whole thing with the viruses, where the viruses are no longer a danger, because in this world, viruses are like nukes. They're the whole point that Victor was making was that now that viruses can't be
without
used.
bioweapons, the world will go into chaos again.
Yes, so they're like the world's version of nukes. Like there's no
nuclear. Yeah, they're a deterrent.
Yeah, they're a deterrent. So that was his whole idea of what he thought Spencer was going for, and so like. You don't need it to be a virus to still have Resident Evil games. 4 has parasites. There's the mold. The mold isn't a virus, I think.
No,
it's mold.
It's also like a parasite or like a fungus. Yeah.
And even with Elpis, I still think you can have virus-based weapons as long as it's like in an insular community.
It's just not going to be T-virus based. It's not going to be T-virus based. And there was, I think people have even brought up, like I think because there was the G virus from William Birkin, but I think Code Veronica mentioned something in Europe. There's a different virus strain. And that's part of the funny thing too, where even when it comes to the original established Umbrella lore from the first 3 games, there's more you could have explored that they chose to just leave as a hanging thread. But that's the thing, like the Elpis cures the T virus, which I guess does that mean we're not going to deal with hunters anymore? No more lickers, but
there's another problem, because I don't think it's just going to cure T-virus infections. It might be covering other things. It might also cure the mold, because I think, there's been a theory going around that Xeno isn't actually a Wesker clone. That
What is he?
that he might be just a mold infused person, pretending to be Wesker because
Okay, what's
he
the
has
evidence?
this-
What's the evidence? I need
okay,
to.
so I heard this theory. I think it was it Swear Hunter or somebody talking about this. How when he uses the Ouroboros power or whatever the thing is called, his superpowers,
Yeah.
he has like that same like mold glow around his like scarring whenever it triggers. So it has like this same sort of hue. And also, Miranda had the ability to shapeshift into whatever she pretended to be. Ethan's wife pretended to be, the old crone in the village. So there is a possibility that Xeno might actually just be a Connections member, mold infused, and somehow he got Wesker's powers while also pretending to be him. There was like a theory with that's why he's got the like jacket like not on but like
That would be a
draped in
very
it.
weird thing to put, because like the whole thing with the game was that they were making clones to
Yeah, I
have
know.
genetic memory.
I know.
Yeah.
And so that would explain why he is a clone that has the original Wesker's genetic memory and abilities.
And
And
he's
with
also
his
more
son and
pale.
all that.
He's also more
Yes.
pale, and he has the pale hair like Emily had, even though Wesker himself was blonde. But then again, he injects himself, and that's the thing. He injects himself with the Elpis, and the marks of the T virus infection not only start to go away, he gets a bit of a tan. He gets a bit more color to his face.
That is true.
So I guess you can't necessarily read that in regards to whether he's a clone or not. I don't know. It's strange. Like even that he's there to begin with. But here's part of the problem too. If you were to HDify the Ouroboros and how it looked,
Yes.
it wouldn't look too different from the molded. Let's be honest.
Exactly.
So
Exactly. So it's hard to like what is actually happening. Also, if it is the Ouroboros, then that means that Elpis also cures the Ouroboros, which is a different strand of virus, if I remember correctly. It's been so
I'm
long
willing to
since I
take
played
it as
five.
face value that it cures all biological based weaponry. It's not just
Yeah.
the T virus. That's what they said. They said it did all. They're all useless now. If that's
Yeah.
I'm willing to take that at face value.
well,
It
that's
also means that there's no more flu. We're done with flu. We've cured the flu. We've cured the common cold. We've cured all the viruses.
I mean,
That's pretty OP.
oh, any name. You mentioned something in your video and I never mentioned it. I just recalled. I don't know if there's any real evidence in the game about it, but I would have a theory that Grace has Elpis in her already. Like she was a baby, but Spencer would have injected Elpis into her, and that's why she never becomes zombified. She gets the bite on the arm, and then she's just fine. And
She gets bathed in infected blood twice. Gets in her mouth.
I would guess that. I would guess she already has Elpis in her. That's the closest thing to making her a not normal child. But otherwise, I mean, and I agree. Like, I think because there are people that also theorize Spencer's lying that she is a clone or something like that. She's not necessarily special, but Victor Gideon says there's nothing to connect Grace and Emily. I think for the most part we're to take things at face value, and that both Victor and Zeno were just completely wrong about Spencer and Elpis, and they made a bunch of leaps of logic and assumptions.
They're just stupid.
Yeah.
Yes.
Sorry if I've been a bit more silent, but I know I get a reputation of not caring about story, which is a slander. I do care about game stories, but when the story just feels bad and nonsensical to me, that's when I stop caring. To me personally, the story of Resident Evil Requiem struck me as just dumb and nonsensical, and therefore I kind of stopped. It got nonsensical near the end, so I did pay attention throughout until the end. But now that I've got all this nonsense happening, I just kind of struggle to care about it. Even though I'm like, oh, where could the things go next? I just the story is. I'm thinking about where the gameplay, where the characters, because I really care about the characters. They're great characters. So I'm thinking about all this stuff, but you guys are talking about, oh, but what about the connections? So what if this guy is this thing? I feel like the story is of such a low quality that maybe I'm being too harsh, but I just struggle to care that deeply about it.
I figure I'm
Well,
the
it matters.
odd. Go ahead, Derp.
I was just going to say, well, it matters regardless because now they're trying to tie every storyline they have going in this neat little bow, and it's not working out perfectly, but it's like important to see where they go next. We need them to wrap this story arc up so we can understand where the series is going forward.
Well, to an extent, it's also important because you can tell with the remakes, especially, they're trying to make, like, Resident Evil 4 remake, especially, is trying to be so much more serious than the original Resident Evil 4 was. They
To a
want
fault.
to be
No.
on that prestige single player stage with Sony right now. You can tell they do. And
What strikes me as strange about that is that Resident Evil 4 Remake is a lot more serious, it has a lot more restraint, and then on Resident Evil Requiem, you're doing like Red Bull level jumps. You're parrying a rocket launcher and bullets, and it's just crazy. I felt
You can do
like
that in 4 remake
original
as well.
Resident Evil 4 had a lot more restraint than the crazier aspects of Requiem.
well, we also got to remember we're dealing with like a minimum of, well, not even three different directors, like three groups of different directors. I always forget the names of the two guys that are directing the remakes, but like Resident Evil 2 remake was a pair, and then they directed Resident Evil 4 remake, and now they're allegedly directing the Resident Evil Code Veronica remake. So the remakes are one pair of directors that are going to be able to carry a sort of consistent vision and tone through the games that they want to put in. What was his name? Mamoto Sato? I believe Sato was the name of the Resident Evil Village director. He clearly had his own tone that he went for. And Village is definitely a sort of odd one out, both in terms of its tone and just the very feel of the narrative and the characters. Like, Village doesn't even feel close to what 7 was. And that's the thing. 7 and Village especially now feel like the odd games out. Like, they were experiments, but after Resident Evil 2 remake, Capcom was like, all right, never mind. Going away from the Ethan Winters style stuff, going away from that experimentation.
Good.
We're going right
Thank
back.
God.
Good. No, because look, the Grace thing is better. Like the Grace thing is just the what 7 was trying to do, but actually good. That's how I thought.
That's actually, I would agree with that. Grace's gameplay is the experiments from Resident Evil 7 refined with what they accomplished with Resident Evil 2 remake into the best of that kind of gameplay they've made in years.
Yes.
Which is
If
also
anything, I think the reason I think that Leon's section exists in 9 is because I think that they didn't want to fully commit to the Grace thing. Like maybe there were other reasons, and there like a lot of changes in development, but like I think they did a really great job with the initial Grace section in the clinic.
yes.
And that could have been expanded to a lot more. I could have kept playing
Yes.
something like that. I was not miserable playing that like I was playing most of 7 with the mold people.
Yeah.
And so the Leon thing, I feel like Leon's gameplay, especially since it's not really great Leon gameplay, it's not even up to the quality of like it's fun, it's great, it's whatever, but it's not Resident Evil 4 remake. You know, Resident 4 remake, a lot of different enemy variety, a lot of different stuff that you can do. The parry's more limited. The you can't parry grabs, so you have to think on your feet to either run away from them or like crouch to get away from them. All kinds of. It was just great. It was just so much fun. And on Leon's gameplay sections, like there's 3 chainsaw guys, I think, and in the whole game. Yeah, like the whole game, there's like 3 chainsaw guys, and the rest are just
And on
normal
its sanity,
zombies.
picking up a chainsaw is a mistake because you're just gonna get hit anyway.
So I think that that's the dangling keys to just in case people weren't vibing with the Grace section, they could here's your Leon section to tide you over.
And I find that, see, I think there's a combination of things because
I mean that in a non-insulting way, by the way. Dangling keys can be very entertaining. Very fun.
Yeah.
I think there's.
I agree.
Yeah, because I agree. Like, I like the Gray section. I don't like the Leon sections as much, and that's also where my desire to go back to the game is diminished. And that's the thing. Like for me, replayability, especially in the Resident Evil series, is a very important thing. I feel like these games are made to be replayed. They're made to be mastered, so you get better and better with your routing and everything like that. And with Requiem, Grace's sections are incredibly replayable. Leon's, on the other hand, are not, and that creates a weird problem. And it's not that they're bad. That's the thing, though. It's like it doesn't exist in a vacuum, so I could be playing more of Leon's gameplay in Requiem, or I could go back and play Resident Evil 4 Remake, and 4 Remake is going to be more fun. Whereas if I choose, all right, do I want to play Grace's sections, or do I want to play Resident Evil 2 Remake? They're not quite the same. They are different, and I think that's the funny thing too, because when Resident Evil Requiem, before it released, I was expecting to have like a minimum of like 3 care center style locations, because the way they were advertising it,
Yeah.
the way they were advertising, it's like you're going to play as Grace and you're going to play as Leon, and they're only showing the care centers, but it's like, okay, this is the first more tutorial like section, and then we'll go to bigger sections. And then by the time I got to the basement with Grace, I was like, this is like at least this is a good chunk of the game. What are we doing next after this? Like, what's after this? And then when it switched over to Leon and it's this more open environment, I was still digging it. I was enjoying that, but it was also just a major shift. And I think that's for me also where the pacing really became an issue, because you spend so long in Raccoon City, and then it's like, all right, now we got the bike. We're going to be on the bike. It's a rail shooter. It's a bike. And then you get to Raccoon Police Department. It's like, all right, we're nearing the end, right? We're getting to the climax. You don't go to the police department unless you're going to have the climax here or something. No, we got a stupid orphanage section we got to get through. All right, what's next?
Oh man.
How much padding is it just to get down past Plant 43 just to get to the lab? Right. And I still remember when it went back to Grace after that, I was like, all right, I'm going to save. I'm going to come back to this tomorrow, because I was playing to like beat the game at that point. I was like, I got to come back tomorrow because I have no idea how big this lab's going to be, and I'm just tired now. But that's the weirdest pacing decision, because effectively by time you're done Raccoon City, that's 2/3 of the game. And on your first playthrough, the Care Center and Raccoon City are going to take you a good amount of time. So, I don't know, like, it just felt like the weirdest pacing in a Resident Evil to me in a long time.
Yeah, I totally agree.
Yeah.
But
Oh, go ahead, Derek.
there's some problems I also have with gray sections, because they're the highest highs and the lowest lows for me, because you're talking about the underground section, and for me the problem with that section was at that point it's more, you got your big enemy stalking you, but that's kind of the last place where you actually play as Grace in like a vulnerable setting. And then you get all these Requiem bullets that you can't use because you won't use them because Marie's gonna hear you, and so you'd rather just save those bullets. And when you get to her fight, it's absolutely dreadful because you got like, at least in my case, I had like 15 bullets. I was stun locking the big bad monster. There was no challenge. There was no interesting gameplay going on. And then once you're done with that section, you get into the lab as her later, and you have so many resources that you can kill every licker first try. I had 2 Molotovs per licker, and then I got the acid recipe, which kills them in one hit. It ruined that entire section for me. It made it so...
That section was already bad even without that, but you just have so many resources that...
Yes.
I think there's just a problem with why doesn't it have a hardcore mode to start with?
Yes.
Why
Oh my
doesn't it
god, a
have
higher
it start?
difficulty.
Like
Also,
Insanity's fine. Insanity's fine. You know, they always have the hardest difficulty that you get unlocked. But like an in between, why isn't there an in between? And I've heard that
Technically,
classic.
it's classic.
No, it's not.
no.
It's not the equivalent of hardcore. I've heard. I was about to mention that.
Mm.
I've heard that it's harder. You know, I have heard that they actually do more than the ink ribbons, and they change the parameters. But I don't think it's the same parameter as
It's a nudge.
what hardcore was. It's slightly
so
higher, but it's not,
minor.
yeah,
Yeah.
but it's not the same as what hardcore is to normal Resident Evil 4 remake. Um, they really should just let you have that in the beginning, and then a lot of the problems that Derp mentioned go away, or at least are mitigated, because now you don't have infinite resources. Hopefully, now you don't have like 15 Requiem bullets by the time you get to the girl, unless you're really trying. And I think, I think I had like 7. I wasn't really trying.
Yeah, the big problem is the resource and the inventory management aspect of the game, because even on the higher difficulties, I was playing a bit of Insane and I was swimming in equipment. I feel like they should, instead of making the enemies harder necessarily, they should just give you less. Just limit your resources more. I think that'd be more interesting.
The biggest sin for me is that when you reach the girl, I think at that moment they give you like 5 Requiem bullets.
Yep.
They give you
then
extra.
do.
when you go downstairs, you get like 2 more or something like
Yep.
that.
Yep.
And I'm like, 2 is more than enough. If you reach that point without Requiem bullets, you should require to use stealth or use the different lamps in that section. It's not like you need the Requiem bullets. Those bullets are like a safety net in case she sees you, right? But if you are not, this is a normal thing in survival horror games, where if you reach the boss fight without enough resources, you should be fucked. So I don't think the game should.
They're afraid of
me-
doing that now. And there are people that do. That's the funny thing. Every once in a while, I read some of the Reddit posts to see what some players are saying, and there are people that ran out of bullets when you're waiting for Emily to do the Braille code. Which, oh my goodness, I forgot to talk about how stupid that was. Grace is an FBI analyst, and she can't figure out how to do the same damn symbols that are on every single one of these things, only in
and
Braille.
even if they are swapped, there's like 6 possible combinations if you have the actual answer, because she just didn't knew what the buttons were. There's like a few combinations that you can try. You don't need to bring this blind girl into lethal danger. It's absurd.
It's funny
It
how
would have made a lot more sense if if she just grabbed her. Oh, okay, like you grab the thing. Okay, we're leaving, and then the monster pops up and grabs Emily, or something like that. But yeah,
the power goes out in that little section, in her little cage or whatever. The power goes out, and the girl comes and grabs her. Yeah, that would have possibly worked, because they already established the girl has been in there. You have the hole in the roof.
I do have to say that I wanted to intervene, but we switched topics before I was able to, because we were talking about the Leon gameplay and the pacing and all that stuff. And I think Leon and the labs. I liked Leon's section on the labs, because after Grace, after you go as Grace, then you go as Leon again, and I like that. Because I feel like Leon works wonderful in this game, amazingly, when it's just a pace breaker.
Yes.
When it's just a pace breaker, and even if you had the Raccoon City section, which is a bit longer, if as soon as you blow up the gate, you get into the bike, and then you switch to Grace, even then I think it would have been really good, because you've just been pace breaking as Leon, and some people are really gonna like that gameplay and are gonna be, oh, I wish I had more. Okay, here's a section where you get more, but the keep the game mostly as a Grace thing. And if you're gonna have this side gameplay that's not as good as another game, just keep it as a side activity. Imagine if they make a future Zelda game, and 50% of the content is the Ocarina, like they make the Ocarina of Time remake, and 50% of the content is the fishing minigame. It's just not going to work. There's just not enough meat on those bones to give you the whole experience. So I wish it was just a pace breaker, and I think it would have been amazing.
I mean, that's the funny thing is my initial reaction to Requiem was rough on that first day. And one of the reasons is because every time I got to play as Leon, I felt like I never got to actually experiment and explore his combat. Until, of course, then you get to play as him, and it turns out there's not as much to experiment with or explore anyway. So, but
I think if they fused some, for example, if Grace managed to, or no, if you just go into the basement as Grace, instead of going to Leon, if you go to Gideon's office and then immediately notice Grace going out, and it's this longer Leon section where he goes into the care center, and then he takes a sniper, and then you fight in the church. It would have felt better because instead of having two 5-minute sections, you get a 10-minute section. But maybe they really felt like you needed the pace breaker right before going into the basement with a monster that's gonna be super scary. They might have done a lot of play testing and focus groups and realized that people were just too stressed. They didn't want to go into the basement right after the confrontation with the blister heads and the zombies in the isolation ward. So who knows? We might be talking out of our asses, and the developers actually tested it.
Oh no, I know straight up that from their interviews and everything, and this was true after Resident Evil 7. Like, one of the reasons Village is the way it is because they got feedback that people couldn't even finish. Well, Village is also evidently the way it is, speculation wise, because when 7 released, it didn't start selling very well until sometime down the line. So they wanted to pivot away from that horror angle, and then it started to really pick up, and then Resident Evil 2 remake came out and sold really big at the start. So and that's the thing, Requiem itself feels like, and that's the thing that does get me, is I think from now on, would you guys prefer if from now on the game was either horror or action but not trying to be both?
Yes.
I think they could do both, but if they do both, I think I would like it more as in old-fashioned Resident Evil, where you have an A route and a B route, where they could have an action route and a horror route. I think they could do it if they, fine-tune both sides a bit.
What about you, Rada?
I think they could do both, but I wouldn't want both to be the only thing they do. I think that if we're gonna get both, and we're gonna get what I consider lesser Leon gameplay in the action one, as opposed to a well-rounded, more things to do, more things to experiment, and harder gameplay in Resident Evil 4 Remake, then they shouldn't do that, because it's not, if they can't make the Leon gameplay at least as good as Resident Evil 4 Remake, or the action gameplay as good as Resident Evil 4 Remake, then they should focus on one or the other. That way they can pour all of their attention and energy into one thing, rather than spilling it all over the place and then ending up with two things that may not be as good on their own. Maybe we could make it a release of all three. A release of pure horror or more horror. A release of more action, and then one where they try and do the split again.
Yeah, that would probably be better. Looking at each individual game and see what fits the setting and the story that they're going for at that particular moment.
I'm still fine with some kind of split, as long as they focus on one style primarily. If the other style is just a pace breaker, I'm absolutely fine with it. If Resident Evil 4 had another Ashley section, like the one in the remake, because I prefer the one in the remake compared to the original. If there was in the island another Ashley section to break all the action that's in the island, that's just room after room of action and action and action. If there was another Ashley section with the regenerators and you have to run away or something like that, I would have liked it. I think it would have been a welcome break. So instead of trying to make a 50-50 split, if they make 85 to 15 or 80 to 20 split, I think I would really like that.
I don't think I agree.
I think I'm kind of with
Especially with the
Derp.
action.
I think I'm kind of with
Yeah.
Derp, where I like the idea that it's A and B scenario thing. Especially if you could try and because that's the thing. Like the Grace offers a sort of zap system style of idea, where if you go through the Grace, if you go through the care center, and you leave a whole bunch of zombies alive, right? You don't kill them, you don't, and then Leon comes through. Leon can kill a bunch of them. And especially on replays, he gets all of his point values that he can upgrade his weapons and stuff like that. But also some of the like if she kills the big chef guy, she gets the pantry key and she can open the pantry, and voila, there's a door that Leon can get through. So there's like encouragement to take risks in order to unlock certain doors for him to use. But what I was expecting was for the care center to have Leon only areas, or at least far more than they did, so that both could benefit one another. And it's like that's the thing. Like this game feels like two prototypes to me. You have a prototype of that sort of zap system gameplay in the care center, where Grace has to do like Grace is vulnerable. She's not a combat action hero. She only has the handguns. She does have the injector, which is very useful, but then if she kills all the zombies, there's not a lot for Leon to kill. If she leaves them, then Leon's able to clear them out, and then she has a empty space, and that's fine. But they don't build off of it, and that like there's no other further payoff than that, right? Because by the time you're done the basement, even if Leon killed all the zombies, there's not a lot left for Grace to do. So then you go to the laboratory with Grace, or you go to the underground little lab, and nothing she does really impacts Leon. And everything Leon does in the city, there's absolutely no impact. But Leon feels like a prototype of, if we were to do a open world Resident Evil, this is the general direction it might look like. And that's something that I wonder, and this could be just my own projection of an idea, because I wouldn't want a true Ubisoft style open world. I wouldn't want, okay, here's the markers of here, that you can go. I would want something that still has a sort of closed enough system that you have to find the keys, you have to explore, and you have to then go in the areas. And I'd still like those areas you go to have traditional Resident Evil elements. So you have like, I guess you could call it a quote unquote dungeon, though it'd be more like a mansion, quote unquote, like that kind of an idea.
Yeah, that's something they did well with the 4 remakes. They had like the section that you could explore of the village after you were kind of done in that area. You could like go back into the lake and look around and had some shade areas. The castle had like you could go along the ramparts, and I think you could kill like a extra El Gigante or something.
Yeah, like, I didn't even I would have had to have gotten more footage, but I didn't even think of that with my video, because I was looking at Village has little bits of that too, with the village itself as a hub, but not as much, right?
Yeah, you just kind of run through it again multiple times, if I remember right.
Yeah, there's like 3 games of experiments, like Village 4 Remake and now Requiem, where you play with ideas of what if we had a world setting you could explore, and could it still work as a Resident Evil? Now, it probably works better with a more action-oriented approach, but even then, imagine a city that is more of Grace's gameplay. Imagine having a wider, larger environment that you are more vulnerable in. Like, I'm even thinking of that possibility. That could even work really well.
Yeah, could be cool.
And I guess that's the thing. It's like, what are they going to envision for future Resident Evil games versus... Well, and again, like this is like rumors. Like, what are they working on? Because if Dusk Golem is accurate, and at the very least, more reliable leakers have confirmed at the very least. Well, I don't want to say confirmed, but suggested Code Veronica is the next game in line. It is a new remake, and it's going to be 2027 is what they're looking at. So if Capcom wants to have annual Resident Evil releases. At some point, you run out of remakes, hopefully. And I guess that's the thing. Like, would you? Because right now we have mainline entries and remakes. Would you be open to maybe the mainline entries being the fusion, but then you have like, here's your spin-off horror release, here's your spin-off action release, or would you rather it be less schizophrenic, or would you or would you rather it just be stop making them annually, make other IP as well, and release like your good mainline game every few years?
Do they do them annually?
They haven't, though they got close. Resident Evil 7 was 2017. Resident Evil 2 Remake was 2019. Village was 2021. 3 Remake was somewhere in there. And then 2023 was 4
Yeah,
Remake?
2023 was a remake, and 2026 was Requiem. And I'm gonna go ahead and take a guess that it might have taken longer due to the pandemic, maybe, or maybe it was already over. I don't know.
Well, Requiem was 2 things, because we have seen the confirmation that they originally were working on an open world co-op game for Resident Evil 9, but after Resident Evil 2 Remake was so good and did so well and stuff like that, they completely changed their direction. They scrapped that project and went with something different. Part of it, and again, like Resident Evil Village was greenlit 6 months before 7 even shipped. So they definitely want to keep pumping out Resident Evil games because they're a big moneymaker for them. They always sell big. But that's why, again, like because the current projection, if Dusk Golem is correct, is Code Veronica Remake in 2027, Zero Remake in 2028, and then Resident Evil 10 in 2029. And if his next stinking rumor is correct, and they are looking at Resident Evil 1 Remake, that would be 2030, which, God, I really, really don't want a Resident Evil 1 Remake, but I can see them doing it at this point. Well, remake.
Yeah, I can see them reimagining 1 again to fit more in line with their modern stuff. And I thought they were doing that before 10 even, but yeah.
What do you think about that? Should they do that? Remake 1? Because I know they were talking about that on Twitter, and there was a lively discussion on whether that should happen.
No, don't touch it.
I obviously don't want it to happen, but I've already seen, this is the problem. It's like after Breath of the Wild came out and there was all kinds of people like, there should be an open world Metroid game. Yeah, look at how that turned out. But yeah, after Resident Evil 2 Remake and now with Requiem, like every time a newer one comes out, people want them to remake Resident Evil 1 again. And it's like, if anything needs a remake, it's Resident Evil 3 Remake. But I don't know.
At least the second half.
At least the second half. I really don't. Because I know what you already said, Rad. I really don't want them to even touch Resident Evil 5. Resident Evil 5 is fine as it is. I don't want to go back to those conversations.
No, we have to talk about the Resident Evil 5 conversations again. They were fun conversations. I missed out on them. I wasn't internet pilled at the time. I couldn't give my 2 cents on the subject, and now I have like 3 cents to give.
Oh no.
They were kind of funny, not gonna lie.
Yeah. I guess that's the question, like, should we have annual Resident Evil and every year it's a different kind, or should it just be like, nah man, I need a break once in a while?
I think the output's fine, if they're taking one every 2 years. I don't know if it should be annually, but it hasn't been annually. The amount of time that they seem to be taking seems okay, especially if they're peppering them with remakes, Yeah,
as long as it's of good quality, I'll take whatever release pace maintains the level of quality they've been having for their 18, because I think the 3 remake was made by the B team or whatever. So as long as the level of quality of the new trilogy plus 2 remake, 4 remake is maintained, if they somehow are able to maintain that level of quality with an annual release, yeah, sure, whatever. But if the quality starts to decline due to a faster release pace, I don't think I would like it. Because a good example is I think From Software is just like pumps out games very quickly.
Do they?
And then especially-
Do they?
Not quickly enough. We're making FromSoft games. What do you mean?
What are you talking about? Are the FromSoft games in the room with us?
Yes, we had Night Rain just last year.
And what was before Night Rain?
How long
Before
was the
Night Rain,
Halloween?
we got the DLC, which is
Yeah.
essentially an entire game.
But we had to wait for
we had to
years.
wait 2 years for that DLC. And then how
years,
long
that-
did we have to wait for Elden Ring?
Okay, but compare that to almost any other Western studios that doesn't put out like annual releases, which, in my mind, those studios that just put annual releases just churn out.
I mean,
things
nobody,
that
except for Call of Duty. I don't
You
think
realize
anybody
From
does.
Software is gonna start doing annual releases. We're getting one every year from them.
I mean, we
I'm
technically
positive.
are. Yeah, it was Elden Ring.
We
Then
got-
it was
we got
Armored Core
We
6.
got Elden Ring, Shadow of the
Shadow of
Earth
the
Tree,
Tree, yeah.
Night Rain, and they are great. And they're
Yeah, but
great.
Elden
and-
Ring was 2022, right?
Yes,
Okay,
Yes.
Armored
Yes.
Core 6 was
Before
2023.
Before that, there was
Yeah.
there
The
was a
pandemic
huge-
hit them. The pandemic hit them, Rata. Like
No.
it's an exceptional
No.
thing.
No, they were
Dark
working
Souls-
on Elden Ring all the way since Sekiro. They were
Since
so
before
busy.
Sekiro.
Yeah,
Yeah.
since before Sekiro, and that was 2019. They were working so long, and we were starving for years.
I will not have
Took them
I
a
will
long
not have
time to
anybody
develop
saying that
If
they
it
need
was
to
not
take
due to
longer.
COVID, I assure you, they would have launched it on either late 2020 or early 2021. And
Okay,
it would have
okay.
been nearly like a year and a half.
Okay,
or
before
2
Elden Ring,
years
what was
tops.
there? Well, hang on. I'm derailing. This
Yeah,
the
yeah.
Resident
we're-
Evil-
I was going to say, we're
Really
going to have to
so
find
hard.
footage for to now have in the
the
background.
argument
just
that I'm
Elden
trying
Ring.
to make is that when you compare that to other Western developers that take like 5-6 years, or even Nintendo with Zelda, right? Like they took their sweet time to release Breath of the Wild, and then it was like 7 years until Tears of the Kingdom, and then what? We're gonna wait like 6-7 years for the next Zelda game. Who knows? Who knows? When you
We're
compare
getting
it
it this year.
to-
What are you talking about?
We're not getting Zelda game this year.
okay.
Getting
Compared
Ocarina
to
of Time
that.
remake.
right.
From Software releases games quite quickly for the level of quality that they have, right? So
Fine.
as
Fine.
long as they maintain that level of quality, I'm fine with whatever order they want to release them. And if they want to do horror, action, whatever, I don't mind as long as it's really good. But if they're just gonna give me a Resident Evil 4 style gameplay but worse, then I don't see the point.
You mean 8?
Sure. I'm yet to play it, but sure, I will agree with you.
I love it, but
See-
it's true.
See, it was funny because what Ramble mentioned earlier, the thing about like replayability being core to Resident Evil, I think that's the case. I always think that has been the case, and I think that their recent releases have been the least replayables in a long time. At least like Requiem and
Even
7
more
and
than
8.
the old
like,
horror ones?
It like now excluding the remakes, but like at least 7, 8, 9, I couldn't imagine replaying those. They're really hard to replay because I feel like they force in so many like set piece moments, or they have like odd pacing issues, or I just need them to
Something like
make
Pure
something more focused, less experimental.
You know
You
what?
can't imagine going to the boat again or the quarry again in 7.
Yeah. Oh my god.
Do,
Or the orphanage in 9 was so terrible.
yeah.
I can't imagine doing that on a replay.
I've had to, and it sucks. There's only one spot you can do a real speed break. And I've looked up people like finding speed run tricks and tactics. There's only one spot you can really do it. Everything else, there's so much waiting. There's so much waiting in that section. It's terrible.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's
And they had that same thing in 8 with the baby room, the
No,
baby house.
you can
That was awful
you can
as
speed
well.
through the baby better. You can speed through the baby
Okay.
section better, and you're not like sitting. Look, okay, there's one point you're sitting waiting under a bed, but
Yes.
you can at least like then leave before the baby monster fetus leaves. It's and that even
Yeah, but
then,
like in
that's,
order to know that, you'd have to look up what exactly how to best to do that. You know, like if you're just replaying the game and you don't know that, and you're just going through the second time, are you going to be able to, do the best route to circumvent and spend as less?
yes, I figured
Really?
it out.
Are you?
I
Oh,
played
okay.
Village a lot the year it came
Okay.
out.
Okay.
I liked
I-
that
I-
game a lot.
Even if I believe that's true, it's still, when you get to a game that you really like and you replay it and you're like, oh, that part again. Now I'm going to have to do this thing again. There's a couple of those moments in a lot of games. And I think that in recent Requiem or Resident Evils, that's been a big issue for me.
I
Where
would
it's
say
like,
that.
oh, man.
Well, that actually brought up. It's funny. I was going to work on wrapping this up, but you actually brought up a question of mine. Because I did notice, and I originally took it as a flaw, but I'm not so sure anymore. The girl isn't as complicated a stalker enemy as they've had in the past.
No.
Like
No.
Jack Baker had more freedom of the house. Marguerite Baker had more freedom of the house in Resident Evil 7. Mr. X has so much freedom, and then in the B route, he's there the whole time in the police department. And then even in Village, in Castle Dimitrescu, you have Lady Dimitrescu roaming more and more as you go through the castle. But in some of these areas, there's a lot of alternate route situations, whereas for the girl, in the basement, as an example, it's very
Yes.
narrow. There's a lot of narrow passages, but then they also clearly have specific ways they want you to deal with her. Which any name you made me feel like an idiot because in none of my 3 playthroughs did I think pull out the battery, put the battery back in. A genius solution.
So funny. That's so funny. That's what I did the first time. I was like, oh, the moment I pull this thing out, she's going to show up.
That's what I did too.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
like, she's so scripted, dude.
Yeah, she's
Yeah.
so fucking scripted. It hurts. It hurts, and I
She's
know
so
they
predictable.
did her in that way because some people complained about Mr. X.
No,
Yes.
Mr. X was the best one they ever made. I need
Yeah,
we
okay,
stop
okay, that's
catering
what
to
I'm
the
trying to
people that
get
are
into.
complaining. Ah.
That's my argument. Like, why are they catering to the people that complained about Mr. X? Because everywhere you look, both fans, critics, everywhere,
I'll tell you exactly why.
Resident Evil 2
any name,
Remake
any name,
gets
any name.
universal praise.
I'll tell you exactly why. Because there are people that go online and say, I would buy this game if it wasn't for.
Yes.
Now, should they cater to those people? No. And I mean, this game sold a crap ton and nobody knew if the girl was or wasn't going to be so scripted. But they are afraid of having less sales because of something like that. And well, fewer sales, I should say. I'm of mixed opinion because I remember originally dreading Mr. X, and that's the thing. I was dreading my B route playthrough when I played Resident Evil 2 Remake. But without Mr. X, Resident Evil 2 Remake is, I mean, the second route would be a cakewalk. It would be way too easy. So he is an interesting factor, but there is also a part of me that is also like, I just want to play the stupid game. Like, I just want to play it. Just get out of the way. So
But he's
of
playing
mixed-
it.
I know. So I'm torn. There's a part of me that's like, would I like them to have fewer or no stalker enemies in the future? And I'm not sure because again, like part of the thing with the care center, you have a lot, like the zombies are technically quote unquote more complicated, but they're just as scripted, right? You can manipulate and figure them out just as easily. And then like the butcher and Chunk, they're intimidating at first until you realize they're really easy to just, hell, you could just walk behind them the whole time and they'll never notice you're there. Like it's such an easier game to break that, I guess for lack of a better term, break that immersion where you see like this is just lines of code and I'm just playing the game, right? Like it's horrifying the first time. Follow-up times it's a lot less horrifying. Whereas
Yes,
Mr.
it's
X
very scripted.
Mr. X is always going to be Mr. X and you're always going to be nervous every time he comes around that corner. So I don't know. I don't know. So but I get it sounds like you guys want to have more Mr. X in future games.
I would
Yeah,
like
I
to
want to have a Mr. X in future games.
Okay,
Never
not
seen
specifically
anything
Mr.
like it.
X. Okay.
Not the
Yeah.
yeah. I think
a
Nemesis
small,
no,
was
I mean,
kind of
unscripted stalker type enemy.
Yeah, just what I'm saying is that the ones that they did after that aren't like Mr. X. They're really nerfed Mr. X.
But I think that's why I think Nemesis in 3 was supposed to be like their answer to the people complaining about Mr. X because you
not
can
at all.
down them for a bit.
Not at all.
You don't
3
think so?
remake was the result of handing it all, like outsourcing it to a development studio that didn't know what they were doing, and
Well,
just taking as many
fair.
shortcuts. And also, it was like because evidently it was supposed to be a DLC to Resident Evil 2 remake.
Really? Huh,
Yeah,
didn't know.
because remember they attached a multiplayer game nobody wanted to it.
Yes.
That's
Oh
how they
my God.
justified $60.
Oh my god, that multiplayer mode was so bad. I played it just to see how bad it was. It was so terrible. Oh my god.
But I mean, it's again though. It sounds like you guys would like more Stalker. Well, would like another Stalker enemy. So, like if they remake Code Veronica, the original Code Veronica, as far as I'm aware, has no real Stalker enemy. But would you like to see one added in, kind of a thing?
No, if it's just to add it in, I don't think I would like it.
Okay,
I would
I
like
didn't
it
play
in
Code
a
Veronica,
10.
so I have no idea.
that's right. We need to super chat you to stream Code Veronica this year. All right, and for Derp, you said you would like it in 10.
Yes, I think if they're gonna add more of these kinds of like stalker
Remakes?
enemies, they should be made for the game, not tacked on as a
Oh,
extra feature.
Huh. Like, so it just occurred to me the thought. So again, if 10 is open world and it's like an expanded version of the Raccoon City ruins here, a stalker enemy could be interesting in that context because you have an open world. You have a lot of places you can go. Sorry, my armchair game designer is now running because I'm sitting here thinking of possibilities. Like, what if you could like do something in this part of the city that makes something happen over here and therefore draws the stalker enemy away, or you have like multiple stalker enemies the further you play. So
That could be cool.
that could be cool.
You know, they could work kind of like the volatiles in the first Dying Light. I've only played the first one, but you know, they are timed to specific times of day, just the night, and they're like super fucking dangerous. You can only fight them at the very end of the game. So I would like something like that. That could be interesting, like an enemy that roams a certain area or during certain time.
Something like
That
the
could be-
Emmy from Metroid Dread.
Yeah, although one of the things that I always wanted in Metroid Dread is I wanted to find an enemy, to get ambushed by an enemy outside of an enemy zone. And then when you go to further, you see that a part of the enemy door has been destroyed, so it can explore that area that's outside the zone. Because getting ambushed by the SAX is super cool. And I was
That's right back to
never
where it's super scripted.
ambushed.
But that's
It
a
is super
digression
scripted,
now.
but you don't know that on your first playthrough.
That's a digression now, though.
Yeah, just to close a final. I know you're saying that you wanted to close, but I have just one little question to ask you guys, and it's about the characters. Would you like the same characters? Do you guys want Chris to come back, or do you guys just want new characters? Maybe stick with Grace, or just get new faces.
I think there was
into the
stuff they
series.
could wrap up in DLC in 9. Like if there is DLC, they could wrap up Chris things with 9, and then have like a new character with maybe a supporting character going forward that's an older, just like they did here.
Okay, so I'm already going to be of mixed opinion because honestly, I feel like Chris and Jill are some of the least interesting characters, and yet they're so beloved. And
Wow.
I kind of
Wow.
get it. And But to
Well, Jill
me,
doesn't age anymore, or at least I've seen something like that. She got the
she
forever hot virus, so she's gonna
but that's
be
the
young or
thing.
something.
Like there are so many side characters they have made since then. And like Revelations has a few side characters that they've never gone back to or brought up. Revelations 2 at least brought back Barry. And then you have Resident Evil 6, you have Helena, you've got you brought back Sherry again, but like no sign of Jake. And I know for a lot of people, like that's the weird thing about this franchise. Even in the games where the stories are stupid, like Resident Evil 5 and Resident Evil 6. Like Resident Evil 6 managed to have side characters that I liked, despite the fact that the story was absolutely stupid. And I think they're good at creating characters. I think they're better at creating characters now, or at least they've been better since Resident Evil 2. Because Resident Evil 2, they got like a professional writer to come in, script the story. So you had Leon with his situation of being a rookie cop. It's his first day. You have his dynamic with Ada. Claire Redfield, she's the younger sibling of Chris. She's coming in looking for him, and then she gets caught up with Sherry. And you've got the family drama of Sherry and then William Birkin and I forget the mom's name, but William's wife and Sherry's mom. So you have like Resident Evil 2 does a good job of telling the story, not just in the lore, but also these characters now have drama and motivations. Whereas in Resident Evil 1, it's just survive, get out of the mansion. You know, everything else is kind of not ancillary, but that's the thing. Like to me, there's too much of going back to some of the older characters. It's one of the reasons I felt like Ethan was a breath of fresh air, even though he was intentionally made to be less of a character. But we've gotten so many different versions of Leon, of Claire. Well, Claire, we've only gotten a few, and we're going to get another one. But then you have, they're ruining Ada Wong. So if they can stop ruining characters, but I'd rather either newer characters or characters they haven't gone back to. Like bring back Sheva, make her more of a character than she was in Resident Evil 5.
Cool. Yeah.
Bring back Helena from Resident Evil 6. Bring back, well, I don't know, maybe not bring back Jake Wesker. It might be better to leave him buried.
No, please don't.
Let's forget it happened.
That's the thing. Like, I'd either rather new characters or go back to characters that you only had in one game. Don't cater to people that are just stuck specifically on Chris Redfield. I feel like this is at least story-wise a good enough end for Leon, because this is the first time Leon felt like Resident Evil 4 Leon since 4.
Yes.
Remake Leon doesn't feel like 4 Leon, so this is a good, like, if this is his last game, then I'd be fine with that. And hell, maybe put Sherry in the field, or maybe make it turn out that Ashley Graham became some badass special agent. I don't know. Like, there's stuff you can do with other characters that they've never gone back to.
And I think that, you know, if you're going to bring back an old character, since they've already seen some stuff, the tone can't be, you know, as good as with the gray section. You need new characters to actually feel the fear of, you know, seeing a zombie for the first time. That's not going to intimidate somebody like Ashley again. Yeah,
Something that I notice is that I know it's probably coincidence with them with the success of RE4 being an action game. But generally, when they have a character on their first appearance, it's generally more of a survival horror, and then their second time around, it's more action oriented. So even with Ethan, you know, the Resident Evil 7 is more horror oriented, and 8 is apparently more like Resident Evil 4, where he's just blasting things. Same thing with the original.
I keep forgetting you haven't played through it yet.
No, I haven't.
it's okay. It's not good.
How much do I have to super chat you to play through it?
No, please do. I'm desperate for money. But yeah, so I would like Grace. I don't think I would like Grace to the same level of Leon, you know, to that degree of action. Or maybe yeah, I don't know. She just doesn't seem like that type of character. But I would be okay with her with a more action-oriented focus and have a new character focus on the on the survival horror aspect, you know.
I mean, if they wanted to experiment more with the crafting of materials you could do, then I think bringing Grace back would be good. Because
Yeah, she's a hemomancer.
she shouldn't be. She shouldn't be more combat oriented. Like she shouldn't get so much more confidence that she can now handle herself in a proper
In the spinning
scrap.
kicks. Yeah.
But
Duplex.
if she's confident enough at least to be like, all right, I got these materials now, I can craft this stuff together, but I still need a blind girl to read Braille for me that I should be able to figure out on my own. Retta, did you answer, or is it just because you don't know enough of the
I
back
answered.
catalog? Oh, you did?
I did answer.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, he
Derp
said
didn't
he wants the... Yeah, Derp didn't answer. Rada said that he wants a wrap-up on the DLC and to move forward.
Oh, okay.
I thought I did answer, but maybe I didn't. But yeah, new characters good for horror. Old characters good for action most cases.
Okay. Now, I do have one last question before we finally do wrap up. And any name, you're not allowed to bring up any more digressions. Would
Any
you
names for support
guys-
judge here?
Would you guys be open to, not as like a mainline game, but as side projects, co-op Resident Evil, be it like the Outbreak style where they
Yes.
tried to make it horror,
Yes.
or
Yes.
action,
Yes, easily.
in general?
5,
Yeah.
I don't remember anything about the story. I played 5, but I only remember having fun with the co-op and thinking it's dumb.
Exactly the same. I think I had like, me and my brother must have played that game like 10, 15 times over, just because it's so fun to like scream at my brother and ask for an egg because Kristen needs his protein boost. You know, he's like desperate for protein. So every time my
Sheva,
brother
protein,
puts an egg, I'm like,
Sheva, protein,
Sheva, I
Sheva,
need an egg.
I need an egg.
I need an egg. And then whenever we get to a gate, it's like, Sheva, hurry.
Over
and
here,
keep
hurry.
screaming. Yeah. Give me a rocket launcher.
Come on,
I
come
need an
on,
egg.
come on.
I love that stuff. That stuff is so good. Give me that again.
Oh
The
my
rest of the
God.
game. Give me that.
I need co-op slop. Yeah, I would absolutely take it.
Yeah.
Any name you
Sounds
haven't
great.
answered?
I never played 5 in co-op. A friend lended me the game and I just played it on my own. And, you know, that sounds like a ton of fun. That sounds way more fun than what I experienced.
It is. It is.
Yeah.
I played 5 both single player and co-op, and it is so much better when it's co-op.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it sounds like night and day. Yeah, I would be completely open to a co-op game. I think we need more co-op games. There aren't many that are...
Be careful what you wish for. Remember, the AAA initiative was like
Oh, no.
80% friend slop, and the last thing we need, we've already gotten like wannabe Friday the 13th game slop or whatever from.
Okay.
Like, they've tried so many
That-
trends.
yeah,
the last thing
that's
we
what I
need,
was trying
the
to
last
say.
thing
As long
we
as it's
need is
not-
Umbrella Lethal Company. That's the last thing we need.
Oh,
We already have
you
Western
say
in
that?
the end by
That's
then.
cool.
That sounds pretty cool.
Yeah, that sounds
no.
great.
Oh, no.
That sounds good. What are you talking about?
What are you talking about?
I would like, however, if they can't remaster the Outbreak games,
I'm talking about refined co-op games, but by the way, before you
refined.
move.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, like an experience. You know, like
Like 5 remake.
yeah, like some,
Yeah.
No,
Exactly.
no,
Now you're talking my language.
no.
what is the name of this game? It Takes Two. You know, that is a more. It's not just friend slop. You know, it's the story includes the co-op. Like everything revolves around the co-op, right? I'm talking about those type of co-op games. I would like more of that. And if they can make a really polished co-op experience where the co-op is important for the gameplay, the themes, the feel of the game, then yeah, I would be absolutely down to that.
Interesting. Because as I was saying, like I would love to. Maybe with you, I can try and emulate the Outbreak games sometime because I've always wanted to try them because they're supposed to be like the original Resident Evil games where it's like 4 players wandering a mansion. I think some of the items and keys end up being randomized and you have very limited amount of space per player. So you're wandering around, and someone's like, "Who has the clover key? Do you have the clover key? I got the clover key." Stuff like that.
Oh, that sounds
Who
great.
has my egg?
Who has my egg?
I need a rocket launcher.
Come on. But
Yeah.
if they can't ever remaster that, put that online. I would actually like to see if they could try something like that again, but we'll have to see overall. But I guess that's all I got for you guys. So, any final thoughts on Resident Evil or Resident Evil Requiem? You guys got?
Yeah.
All right, Rowdy, you can go first.
No, I meant that. That's all I.
Oh, that's all you
I
got.
have.
That's all I got.
Yeah.
All right.
Hopeful for the future.
All right. So, thank you guys for joining. Thank you very much. Once again, Any Name, you have a YouTube channel.
Yes, I do. It's
Actually,
kind of small though.
I think we all have one. Like Derp, you're eventually going to upload a
Yeah.
Dark Souls 2 video.
Allegedly.
Allegedly.
I'm taking a little break.
What do you mean? Not up yet, Derp. What the
Taking a
fuck?
little break.
No,
What were all those GU play sessions for? I thought those were the break.
Those were work. Those were hard work.
Oh, really? How much did you pay him, Rada? Like, I'm interested in hearing that.
I paid him in love.
Sure.
And
It'll
of course,
be there when it's out.
and of course, Rada, naturally, we are the parasites trying to leech off of your subscriber base by including you. So,
It's okay. Las Plagas is my favorite enemy.
Gloria las plagas.
all right. But thank you guys all for joining. This has been a fun time. Have a good one. And everyone, thanks
All
for
right.
listening.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you for having us.